Short game wise, yes, I can. Long game wise, no. No, I have not.
He's talking the long game.
They played the long game.
They gotta play the long game.
They're experienced and they played the long game.
No, you're talking the long game.
They're experienced and they played the long game.
Very nice.
Long game is back.
All right, long game is back. Case, good to see you, my friend. The emails keep coming in. The Swedish listeners keep coming in. I'm happy to be here. I got the other new long game tee on. The brand is growing. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you? Do you watch some golf this weekend?
I watched about an hour. You know, I came in real hot. I was like, I'm gonna go hard and watch the Grant Thornton on Thursday. Lucas Glover and Leona made a hot run, and Janko texted me. He's like, I listened to the pod. I heard you pick Glover. He's on a heater. And I watched it for like an hour on Thursday, and then I happened to flip it on on Sunday afternoon, and Lydia Ko stuffed a 3-wood into a par 5 to like 6 feet, and her and Jason Day made a birdie. I turned it off. They ended up winning. That was about the extent of me watching. How did you get into it at all?
Yeah, I popped in for a little bit every day. The one thing about it I'll say that was a little bit difficult as a new viewer. It's the first time ever having that tournament. Not knowing exactly what's the format this day, because every day is a different day, right? Scramble, whatever it was. So, but besides that, I thought it was good golf. I thought it was really cool. I feel like I saw way more good golf shots from the women than the men from what I watched, but I think it was a big success for everyone, and we'll see if it grows next year.
Yeah, and I kind of like this, like a little stretch in December of this format, and then the PNC. Like, it's still golf, it's still fun. I made a note of this. I wanted to mention you. I saw on Instagram. This was on PGA Tour's Instagram. They posted a bunch of pictures of like some teams early in the week, and they had a whiteboard, and it said one rule for the week, hype song, and one word to describe each other. What was interesting is 5 of the groups that they posted, 5 out of 5, all had this one rule for the week, and it was no apologies, no sorries, no saying sorry, which in all seriousness, I think that's a super relatable thing. Like,
yeah,
if you've ever played in a team format with someone, there's just like this, like if you hit a bad shot, you instantly want to turn to your partner and say like sorry, or if you miss a putt, you want to say sorry. And I think that was cool to see them level set and be like, hey, we're each like in this together. Don't apologize. Like, please don't do that. Don't bring that into the group. And I thought that was an interesting, like, little nuance that in a pretty lighthearted event to see them be like, no sorries. We're just going to play this together. I think there's a great mentality for a team event.
Or if you're Corey Connors, no sorries.
Corey, a little heater yesterday.
Joke. Yeah, turned it on. But yeah, I thought it was great. It wasn't officially part of our Grinders tour, but I think I'm not.
I don't even want to do this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I beat you again, but only just by 100,000. But really, the most important thing to focus on is the year-long scoreboard update.
Neither of us picked the top 2 teams, and
I know, and there's only 20 people,
right?
But you've got about just over $1 million so far in the year, and
okay.
I'm at 2.75 million. So
it's all good. See me when the century pops off. I'll be here.
When the guys hit Hawaii, that's when Dave gets hot.
Yeah, I've been trying to, like, no more getting cute. I just pick the horses and let's move on. Actually, well, you can't. No, actually, that's what's interesting. This has been, once we get into the year, we're not going to be able to pick our Scotties and our Victors. We're going to be back to picking Camilo and whoever else.
It's true. We started this idea for picks. We said everyone does picks for the top guys. Let's do grinders, people that are outside the top 150 in the world. And I think we have one tournament where there's even people outside the 150 playing. We went from Tiger's All-Star Challenge down in the Bahamas to last week this, and then next week we'll get into it, or this week coming up, the PNC. But just to close out on last week, I thought the event was so cool. It really made me think, do we need some kind of a Solheim Cup, Ryder Cup hybrid that is a U.S. versus Europe men, women challenge? I think that could be some incredible must-see TV.
Yeah, that would be great. It would be great if it was as intense as the Ryder Cup and Solheim Cup are.
Well, that's the thing, right? We already know the Ryder Cup's intense, and the Solheim Cup is arguably more intense. There's been some crazy clips over the last 20 years or so out of that tournament. So I feel like kind of what you're talking about too, the pressure of like, don't say sorry, like it would make things even more kind of frothy. I think that could be some cool TV. So
Yeah,
that's a free one for the tour, whoever organizes that.
which is
Mike Wan.
There is no one over whoever runs it. There is no management at the
Greg
PGA
Norman,
Tour.
get on that.
It would be a great idea for Liv.
Or some Prince, whoever who runs golf now.
So this week they
Middle
got the PNC. You put this in our prep deck. This is the 26th year of the PNC.
Unbelievable.
I did not know that. It's at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando. So they just go around playing the Ritz courses this time of year. I guess if you're going to plan a golf trip, just go to a local Ritz in Florida, and there's a good course there.
Not bad. And we should mention this is the annual father-son tournament. Or, excuse me, father-daughter or daughter-father.
You're going to get us canceled.
Parent.
Parent.
I almost said parent teacher.
Human.
I'm in that mode
Parent,
right
teacher.
now.
Yeah.
The conference, yeah.
No, Annika played with her son. He stole the crowd last year. Tiger and Charlie not playing?
They are playing.
They are playing.
Of course they are.
I thought we weren't going to see Tiger. They said we weren't going to see. I guess this doesn't really count.
No, I think a few weeks ago he confirmed they are playing.
Defending champ Vijay Singh and his son Koss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's exciting.
Have you watched this tournament before?
I watched it last year. I bought into the Tiger and Charlie hype. It's kind of always on. I always see like the Sinks, their unit of a family rolling around. I've always seen the Sings. It's one of those that I don't always see it on, but I find my way like seeing clips on social media like Instagram and YouTube, and I end up watching a bunch of it.
Well, it definitely hit a peak last year with Charlie, and I think that's only going to get worse this year. For us Tiger fans, I should say.
Well, it's cool to me because I do feel like so much of golf talent is passed down because like if you grew up and let's say your dad was Vijay Singh, like a golf club is gonna be in your hand from the minute that you're born, and you grow up around your dad is the best golf instructor because he's one of the top pros, and so it's cool to me, even people that have not like made it on tour, to find out that so and so's son or family or whatever is an incredible golfer. That part is cool to me. No different than like watching other sports and finding out, oh, like this family has 3 kids in the NFL. I think that part of it is cool to me.
Yeah.
Title sponsor. You want to do title sponsor challenge?
Sure. It's time for this week's edition of Title Sponsor Challenge, one of the hottest game shows on the internet right now.
Hold on. We got some love. We got some love last week. Whoever runs the social account over there at Grant Thornton, specifically the Grant Thornton Invitational page, was all over our social accounts last week. So I
Shout
can only
out to that 25-year-old who liked that. Made our week. All right, so I think this is a little
my
more
first job. By the way,
okay.
when we worked together at our PR agency, like one of my very first tasks was like I would have to write tweets for a client. This 2009, write tweets for a client, send it over in an Excel sheet, and they would approve them. And I can only imagine what I was writing and what they were approving.
You need a 20-year-old doing that for you. You can't do that yourself with your internal knowledge. But
I didn't look this up. PNC. This is my moment. I didn't
feel like it. Yeah, I feel like this is a little more mainstream of an edition of this. But Dave, what does PNC do?
PNC is a bank. It's got to be a bank. Is it a bank?
Yep.
Yes.
It's a bank.
PNC.
So you're on the scoreboard now. Finally.
PNC
you roll
Park.
for 3 before that.
Is that a thing?
PNC Park.
Phillies.
Yep. Pittsburgh Pirates. You should have really just stopped talking when you were right. Anything else you want to pretend to know about it?
Oh, that's great.
So PNC is a bank. I almost said, what is PNC Bank? And that would have ruined the whole segment. Officially, PNC Financial Services, one of the largest diversified financial service institutions in the U.S. Dave, do you know what PNC stands for? I'm going to guess not, since you thought they played elsewhere. It stands for Pittsburgh National Corporation and... Oh, sorry. What does this say? All right. Provident National Corporation, 2 Pennsylvania banks that merged in... Wait, hold on. In 1983, there was 2 banks that had the initials PNC that merged. And get this, they called it PNC.
It's
How does
amazing.
that work? You're like, oh, we sold off the PNC. It's like, we are PNC. What the hell are you talking about?
It's actually
Um,
the best brand move you could have pulled. There doesn't need to be. There's no confusion. We're just one PNC now.
And the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's where the Pirates play, Dave.
Never seen them. Never seen a game. Does Andrew McCutcheon still play for them?
You know what I think he does?
Really?
I think he played for them forever, and then he left. He went to like the Yankees, a bunch of places, and I think he like as of last year went back to them after
That's
years away.
amazing.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
Shout out. We'd love to have you in the pod, Andrew. I hope you play
Andrew,
well.
come on the pod. I don't have a guest-restaurant review this week. We've been busy doing other
So
stuff.
let's just say if you're down in Orlando for the PNC this weekend, just have a beer.
Just
Any
have a
beer? Any beer, Dave?
Yeah, Bud
I'm
Light.
sure it's
Bud Light.
well, I'm sure it's like whatever they get. It's a specific type for that tournament. So
Bud Light.
whatever it usually says what like domestic or whatever.
Drink
for
a
the
Bud
light
Light.
beer.
All right, let's do our picks for the week.
All right,
Snake
so
draft.
there's only 20 people in this field again.
20
or 20
teams.
teams, 40 people. So who's going first?
You go
want
first.
me to give you?
Yeah, no, you
Okay.
go first. You could take it. You can just don't take the sinks, and you can go first.
No, I'm just gonna take Tiger because that's what I do every time he's gonna be. I'm gonna
It's
tell
fine.
you if I have the first pick in any tournament and Tiger's out there, and I'm gonna be watching him, I'm gonna be rooting for him. So I'm gonna take. Tiger.
All right, so you have Woods, Charlie, and Woods, Tiger.
That's my pick.
I'm surprised you didn't take the Trevinos, but this is amazing. This is the first time I've seen this field live, actually,
Wow.
which is great. Okay,
Does Glover have any offspring he could dominate this with or no?
dude, he can't play. He can't play in this many weeks in a row. The guy needs to be home with an IV.
Does he have kids?
Of course he does. He's got like.
I would
12
think he
kids.
might be sterile because of the pant sweat. But
It's-
anyway, go
It's
ahead.
an insane comment. It's an insane comment. All right, I got some gangs. I'm gonna go with the Longers, Bernhard Longer, and his son Jason. I think that's his name, Jason Longer.
Is it hard to pronounce? How does it spell?
No. My screen like disappeared. It scrolled away.
Gotcha.
I feel like he's a killer. I feel like the Longers. I feel like they're killers in these events.
I like it, and he's a staple on the Champions Tour, right? He's still in
Sure
every
is.
single
Sure is.
event. Okay, so I get back to back. Oh no, you get back to back picks here.
Oh,
we
baby.
get confused by the snake draft every single week. So
We do.
we'll get it next week. Go ahead, you're up. You get 2 in a row.
All right. This is. I don't want to do this, but I got to get on the board somehow.
I should say we're recording on a Monday morning. The betting odds were not out for this yet, but I think in past years,
Yeah.
I think the top like 5 betting favorites.
All
are
right.
still
You
on
know
the
what?
board
I'm
here.
gonna go. I'm gonna go with my guy Patty Harrington and his son, Kieran. Reason why Patty's one of those guys that the more that I've he's always on his YouTube stuff is great. He's prolific on Twitter. I've become more of a fan of his over the years, and I would obviously I didn't pick Tiger because he's overrated. So I'm gonna go with Patty Harrington.
Good on YouTube, and for that reason, he's picking him to win this tournament this week. Okay, I'm gonna go back to back picks. I'm gonna take maybe the betting favorite. I would think the Thomases, Justin and his father, who is like a good player in his own right.
Is
correct?
he? He's like 80.
Well, okay. It's a scramble. It's a scramble. Like a dad that can putt is like maybe the most valuable tool in the history of scrambles. So-
Tiger and JT, and they're playing together. Definitely.
oh yeah, first round,
of course.
100%. And then for my last pick, I'm going to take Steve Stricker, who I think he won 3 of the 4 majors on the Champions Tour last year,
Yeah, he's a
playing
beast.
great, and is playing for the first time in the field alongside his daughter, Izzy, a recent Wisconsin high school state champion.
Whoa, that's sick. I love that.
Mhm.
She won the Wisconsin High School State Championship in
Oh, yeah.
volleyball. In golf?
No, golf.
It's amazing. That
Volleyball.
how what a dream.
Where
that
did
would be.
volleyball come
No,
from?
I'm just being a jerk. I'm just being a jerk. That's amazing. That's like
We
how-
just had such a nice moment recapping the first ever male, female, equal pay,
No.
equal purse,
Nice.
everything's even Stevens tournament. We got through that without anything
This
to
is great.
offend
Yeah, just
anyone.
as just as my business is really doing great. This is the time. That's cool. That's great. Okay, for me, I'm going to go with the Furics, Jim and Tanner Furyk, just because it's a great name, Tanner Furyk.
Yeah, and you need someone on your team to choke down the stretch. So good pick.
Do you know he shot 58 once at the
Yeah.
at the Travelers? Just letting you know,
I think he has a 59 too.
it's insane. I think he
You
shot.
know, he ruined 2 Ryder Cups on Sunday by completely choking away leads on the back nine.
He's like the
And I've
perfect.
never forgiven him
He's like
for
the
it.
perfect guy of that like kind of in between era. Like he's made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars playing professional golf, but like still doesn't hold a candle to Tiger or others.
I'll never forget one year I used to work the Deutsche Bank Championship down here in Massachusetts when it was part of the FedEx Cup schedule. He came through. I think he was either sick of his putter or his airline lost his putter. He went to like a local place in like the Mansfield, Foxborough area, found this like knockoff putter or whatever. I don't think it was a brand name, and won the tournament with it.
Love
So,
that. How great is
legend.
that?
No,
I love. There was
unreal.
like a story like that. Like last year, I think Shane Lowry, his putter broke. He went to like a local
Yeah.
PGA superstore. These guys, they play the same stuff we do, man. That's why the ball has
Yeah.
got to be one. All right, we got no news, so that's picks for this week. I'm actually excited to watch this. And then we're
nothing
back.
happened. No, Rom didn't leave the tour.
Ugh.
The tour's not crumbling.
Yeah, go listen to all the other golf podcasts for
Yeah.
that.
They've got great takes on
I'll
it.
give you some airtime on this. Did what bothered you the most about the Rom thing?
The jacket.
The jacket.
The idea that like I'll tell you what really bothers me about it is I don't know if we have enough time for this, but live bothers me so I don't care. Go make money, go
Sure.
do whatever. I want to see the best players play against each other because that's what I like watching. I want to see
Yep.
when Tiger won the 90 whenever anyone wins the biggest tournament, I want the best people involved.
Sure.
When Tiger was injured for all those years and people were winning majors, it was still this like they were winning, but Tiger was not around. So I know the majors will have everyone, but I want to tune in every week and watch the best players.
I agree.
Aside from that, this whole undercurrent of the people who like live, it's kind of like a anti PGA Tour thing, right? Who are these people? Like what? Whose thing is like
Right.
I like the destruction of golf. That's what I'm rooting for.
Right.
It's like what you like golf enough to want to watch it fracture, like not the best product. Like everyone should be against live that likes golf. Like if you want to consume the best, you want to see the best. You want to hope that everyone works together and one tour comes out of this. Maybe there's a live subsidiary where they play team events, but who are these people that are like whenever live gets a player, they're like, oh, and they're dunking on like the
Twitter.
Tour, like,
It's on
what-
Twitter is insane. If you scroll on a post and there's like thousands of live defenders. I'm like, who are these people?
But like what are you? You're just standing like you're excited about the one tour being like the PGA Tour. What's happening to it is bad for golf.
Sure.
There's no other way to spin it. So it's like these masochists that just like to see
Like
the golf
like
world
if
burn. Or
Steph Curry, if Steph left the NBA and like was only going to play in like the big three.
yeah, it's like, oh, now what are you going to do? They took your player. It's like, well, you're not even going to go like none of these people are ever going to watch live. So it's just people that are like
Yeah.
hyping up live that will never watch golf. Like you wouldn't talk about a league that's just standing on nothing. Having said that, I did watch about the last 20 minutes of the live yesterday. Had their kind of like a promotions thing. It's like a Q school.
Yeah.
Kind of fascinating. They had 4 guys in the playoff going down for 3 spots. So shout out to
actually
Liv. Love
some
to have you on the pod.
actually
Liv.
some stakes, actually some competition.
Yeah.
Do you think that there was a way? We got to wrap. But we'll talk about this we could spend an hour on this, but
We got an interview we got to get to.
we got an interview we got to get to. We're gonna talk about that. But do you think there was a way that, like, was it if you're John Rahm and you take the money? I'm just curious as a PR from a PR standpoint. Was there any other way that he could have handled this where it would have gone better, or was it kind of just like, fuck, I gotta just take it? Like it was so weird. The jacket going on Fox News, doing all these like weird interviews and like not ever owning it really. Like, was there a way he could have approached this that would have made this better?
Well, I think my honest take of what I think happened, and we touched on this a few weeks ago. He withdrew from the virtual league saying he didn't want to travel. These guys travel on private jets nonstop. It's not a big deal to get to Orlando.
Right.
or wherever they're going to have it. So that was like a first smoke signal. And then we knew this deadline was coming up for the agreement with the tour and Live. But what I honestly think happened is we've been hearing for a while the guys that didn't go to Live, who were kind of in the middle. Obviously, Rory's not looking to be compensated because he didn't go to Live. He took a moral stance, and Tiger, a lot of guys were in that camp. Rahm was in the camp of like, it's not right for me now, but who knows. So he was one of the first guys, because of that reason, he was one of the first guys people were saying, this is someone that you're going to probably have to make whole if you're going to make this agreement with Live, and these guys are going to come back to the tour. You're going to have to compensate him because he, did the quote unquote right thing for the tour at that time to stay when everyone was leaving. They were hemorrhaging top players. If this, I think this might just be a way to make him whole. Look, if the agreement doesn't go through the end of the year, then Liv will have Rahm, and like I think that's a good scenario for them. They're happy with that, but they're at the negotiating table. They probably threw more money than Rahm ever thought he could get. He knows, like, if this agreement goes through with the tour, I'm going to be back on the tour anyway, maybe next year or a year after that. So what's the point of taking this moral stand anymore? Let me just cash in, because like we talked about with Dave coming up, your golf coach, like the whole moral thing is kind of out the window. So I think he just got to a point where he said, I'm going to be back on the tour. There's no way, Live is going to be its own thing for this long. This is a big bargaining chip for Live to help make sure the two tours do end up merging. And he's like, I'm going to get the money I should have got, probably more, and then I'll be back anywhere in a year, and I'll play in he gets 5 years exemptions in all the majors. So
Right. Yeah, it's
kind
like
of a no-brainer.
it's like hedging that all of this is going to explode, and there's going to be one place to play golf anyway, and he went and got paid.
Yeah. So I mean, it was, but to answer your question on the jack and all that stuff, that's all just Live. That's when you get paid that much, you're putting on whatever the fuck they tell you to.
Yeah.
But it just goes into the whole thing. It's like the Letterman jacket, like the cool.
Like, who thinks that's
It's
cool?
like no one who plays golf
Right.
thinks any of that's cool. Thinks anything about the league is cool. Team based stuff is cool, but like they go about it so like in your face, and this is what the other people wouldn't do. It's like this is not good for anyone. No one thinks this is cool.
No.
The people who think this is cool are casual golf fans
Yeah.
who are going to abandon you the second they stop caring. It's
Right. I'm on YouTube, like watching like how to hit shallow wedge techniques. Like, should you chip with your 50 or your 56? That's what I'm interested. I want to geek out
Yeah.
on the golf stuff. John Rahm in a leather jacket, looking cool on Fox News is like, but maybe, but it's also funny that that's what they think is going to appeal to the other wave. But that anyway.
I mean, and golf does need more casual fans, right? Like
Sure.
I'm a fan of sports I've never played before, but I don't know. I just don't know who that's for. That whole league.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have a treat. Enough of this nonsense. We have a treat this week. We have the first guest in the history of this podcast. My coach, my instructor, he's a business owner, an entrepreneur now, a friend of mine, Dave Jankowski. Case, we wrapped up with him before we did this. I'm just curious to hear your reaction to that conversation. I had a lot of fun. I was like, man, we should maybe bring on some more guests. That was fun.
He was great. Obviously has had a long history teaching and understands the best way to get through to people, especially this day and age with technology, TrackMan, all that stuff. So at some point I'm going to have to get up there to the golf garage in Vermont with you, get me on the track, embarrass myself. But do people call it the track? Is that a cool
no
abbreviation?
one's ever said that. No, that's like maybe on Live, maybe at Live they call it the track.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
So enjoy this conversation with Dave Jankowski. He was actually just named the top golf instructor in Vermont by Golf Digest. So good timing, good PR promo. Do you want to say something?
and speaking of guests, we have another guest.
We got guests right now. I hope you watch the PNC this week. I hope root for me, the underdog, right? You don't want the guy who's listening, going to watch Tiger and JT. Help me get back on the leaderboard. Here's our conversation with Dave Jankowski. This is great. This is big news. We got the first guest in the history of the Long Game Pod, Dave Jankowski, my friend, my golf instructor. It started as a guy that I got a lesson from to then transition to coach, which is a different relationship, which we can talk about. Now we're friends. He's one of the OG listeners of the Long Game Pod. Dave Jankowski is here. Thank you for joining us. And Case, I don't know if this made the way down to you in the Boston area, but We have the number one teacher in Vermont, recently published in Golf Digest. He's the top golf instructor, and I know why. Friend of the program, Janko. Thank you for being here, sir. Thanks for giving us
What
some
an
time.
honor.
Welcome.
What an honor. I have to say first that every time I listen, that intro and outro is
Oh,
well,
it hits, right? It's so
I'm looking
good.
for that to become an entire beat of its own. I
It's
need a
so good.
track.
They
I need a
played the
track.
long game. The
And,
way that Trevor Immelman says that is so good.
and it's amazing we got all those people, Stephen A. Smith, Immelman, to clear that for us, right?
You guys are big.
Royalty free. So shout out to them.
I had the company that produced the podcast Hatch. They're always like, yeah, if it's like less than, and don't, this is not that legal advice. They said if it's like less than 10 seconds, like you should be good. So we got all those little clips.
It's a great ad for them.
For Hatch. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
come on, Hatch. So Janko's here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Janko,
for
tell
having
us.
This is big.
Yeah, go ahead.
When podcasts have their like 100th anniversary episodes, they always go back to guest one. So we're gonna have to say Rory, Tiger. Sorry, not this week.
Janko, join the pod.
Exactly.
Janko joined the pod. Well, we got to keep him around because
Yep.
he helps me keep it in the fairway, and now he's like connected to my life and has to be, and now he's connected to the pod. So we're layers deep here. But Janko, for give us
that kind of goes into my philosophy of golf instruction. Though it's you partner with somebody.
Yeah.
You don't just give them a lesson and let them go because they're gonna get lost.
Well, I feel
like
like even like, when I first started going to you, I got an intro from somebody up here and I was like, hey, I really want to work. I really want to get better. Like when I moved up here, I had some time. I always knew that I needed to get lessons, get instruction, but I kind of had the philosophy of like, I'm going to go get a lesson and this is all going to be figured out. And I got an intro to you. I went to you. We played 9 holes. You were at Burlington Country Club at the time. We go play 9 holes and start going to you like once ish a month. But now that I see like the type of relationship that we have and the fact that I can go see you weekly and we talk regularly, I mean, just the difference between that and like a one-off lesson. Can you just what's your perspective on that? Obviously, the more time you have someone with, the better. But like you see amateurs all the time. Does everybody kind of come in with this like quick fix mentality? Like you're gonna get an hour lesson and like we're gonna magically solve all of your your golf issues.
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy is to partner with people. I don't really give golf lessons. I partner with people. My feeling is just going through the things I've been through in my life with golf, being in and out of golf. I had instruction along the way, but I never felt like I had somebody to partner with, and I feel like it took me a lot longer to get to where I'd like to be. Um, than now. Like I have a coach. I have a gentleman, Scott Cowks in Canada, who I do Zoom instruction with regularly, and I bring that belief into my own game, and I feel that everybody needs to have somebody that they can have as a resource. If you look at anything you do in life, I mean, how many things do you do where you don't have a resource to help you learn, be better, do better, get better? And I just feel that, one-off lessons allow you to walk away, and then you're trying to figure out that one-off lesson on your own. Not going to go very well most of the time, especially when you go on Instagram and YouTube and you try to weave them all together. It's just
Okay, so you know what he said to me last year. So last year I'd gone to him a bunch, right? Last year he opens up this indoor facility and we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about like you becoming an entrepreneur, leaving the kind of country club world, opening the facility, the benefits of indoors. What's amazing for me, I talk about this a lot on the pod, is it's made golf a year-round sport for me, and we'll talk about that. But one of the first things that I said to you, I said, look, I want to commit. I want to go all in. I'll spend whatever. Like I want to work. I want to coach. I want to work all the time. The first thing you said to me was, great. No more fucking YouTube.
I mean, it can be great, but the problem with YouTube and Instagram is they don't have any context behind what you are and what you're doing. So there's so many different ways you can do things, But when you match, a certain move that they're making on Instagram with the club face you have, it's just gonna go really wrong. It
Like
just
I sent this like a couple years ago. I sent this like there was this like Brooks kept and Brooks has this really bowed like left wrist, and I sent this like slow motion like left wrist video to Janko. I'm like, yeah, this is what we're trying to work on, and he's like, no, absolutely not. He's like Brooks plays with a shut club face. His swing direction is this. He's like, please stop watching YouTube. And I was like, I felt like I got scolded, and that was the moment when I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and there are so many different matchups and everybody's body moves differently. There's a whole business on YouTube and you can generate a lot of views, but I think it is like anything in life where like the best goes to see somebody in person. And I don't even go on YouTube anymore. I watch it for fun. I'll watch like professional golf or I'll watch guys play, but I texted you a question last night and that's how I've replaced YouTube in my life for
well,
that reason.
it's you know, it, online, Zoom, golf instruction, these different apps. Like as long as you're seeing somebody, it doesn't need to be necessarily in person. Like you can see somebody. Just keep it consistent so that the things that they're working on with you and the philosophies they have can be sort of transferred all the way through like the vision they have for you. And if it's somebody that understands you and your game, like it's never going to get old. You're going to keep building and moving on. But if you get with somebody who all of a sudden you feel like you're at the end of the road and you feel like they're telling you the same things over and over again, maybe it's not the right person. Maybe you're not being coached as well as you are being taught the motions of your golf swing. So there are a few, like you guys call it, the onion layers that you got to peel back. But what I like to do with my clients and students is to peel their onion back and see where they are and coach them and work with them to get them to where they want to be. And I think that in person, that's great. I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, how you can teach somebody through mobile apps and Zoom and services. I think it's a little harder to coach somebody. And that's where the finding an in-person instructor is great.
Yeah, I was going to ask that your world must have changed so much over the last few years, especially with Zoom. And you mentioned taking lessons currently on Zoom. How does a lesson differ through Zoom versus in person? What are the things you'd be looking for? What are the things you're picking up? How does the technology impact that stuff? Obviously, you're not going to have the statistics that you'd have in person. So how do those two differ?
I think that when you're working with somebody through Zoom or you're not directly with them, I think that both people need to have language and they really need to understand what they're doing and what they're trying to get across. I think sometimes that when you're working with people through Zoom or through a mobile app, there can be a little bit of a disconnect because both people don't have the same language and context to be able to reference. That's where I sort of see the biggest challenge with seeing somebody remotely.
What do you think about I just had this conversation the other day. Friend of the program, guy that I have done a lot of business with, has an overlap in golf. He's been listening to podcasts. He's like, yeah, I got to get into instruction. He goes, I'm going to go get lessons from this guy in my area. He's old school though. And I said, what does that mean? And he's like, well, I know you go to this guy and you got TrackMan and you got video. He's like, he doesn't use any of that. What's your reaction to that today and in 2023 and not, I don't want to lead the witness here, but like, isn't that kind of great? Like, hasn't TrackMan given us just a whole other level of coaching that wasn't possible before? I'm just worried about this guy's going to go to someone and be like, here's how I've always done it. Here's how the swing works. This is,
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit of my background is I'm in northern Vermont. I'm literally 2 miles from the Canadian border. I grew up in Texas. I grew up on Long Island. I grew up playing amateur golf, and there was a point where I wanted to walk away from Long Island. I'm a skier, so I moved up to Vermont. Got in the golf business so I could be a ski bum and just work in golf in the summer. Um, I was lucky enough when I was back on Long Island to get some good golf instruction through a club that my cousin was a member at, because I was a Bethpage guy. I was an out east guy. Like, I was just trying to go anywhere I could to get on a golf course. So when I moved up to Vermont, I got involved in the community of golf. I started playing in the Vermont PGA and started making my way through the industry. I realized, wow, there's not a lot as far as golf instruction up here. I couldn't really find a place to get a lesson. So I although I had some good lessons when I was younger, I didn't really have mentors. I didn't have a whole lot of people to go back to reference. So technology for me has been a way to do all the schooling for it. It has been a real key way of how I've figured out how to navigate golf instruction, as well as playing it and being able to apply those pieces together. So when you go back to the question of, old school, I just feel that there might be a little bit of knowledge that they're missing out on because they're not taking advantage of the new technology and number one, the schooling that goes along with it. If you're a golf instructor, TrackMan University, the Sports Box 3D app that I use, and the schooling I do for that, the biomechanics and the kinematics for the body track, and all of these different schools that you do along the way I mean, the knowledge is unbelievable. So you couple that with doing some schooling, and I think that's why there's so many great players coming from all over the world, is because there's people like me in the corner of Vermont, like, that can access all of this information, and you can be as good as you want to be, because back in the day, you used to have to be in these little pods where the top golf instructors were and where the top players were in order to really advance. So I, that's sort of my feeling about that is, old school instruction is great. It's feel, there's a lot of, there's a lot of knowledge that you can get from old school, but I think just, having the new technology and taking advantage of the education pieces is huge.
Yeah, you wouldn't recommend someone go see a doctor that doesn't use like MRI equipment or something, right?
I mean, 100%. That's perfectly put, Casey. Couldn't
No.
say it any better myself.
Well, it's like there's a whole crew of like, in the small business world, there's a lot of, legacy small business owners that haven't brought like software and technology into the business. And I think TrackMan is just another, to give you a perfect example of this, right? Dave and I have been working together for over a year now regularly. Yesterday, I have a busy day with my kids. They put on a movie. I pop out for what I book a simulator time. I pop out from 1 to 2 o'clock. My kids are watching a movie. My wife's hanging out at home. I go to the TrackMan. Him and I know what to work on because we work on these things together. And so I start swinging in a certain way and I see certain numbers on the TrackMan. I'm not just out there guessing on the range. I went and on December 10th yesterday, I got to spend an hour in Vermont. It's snowing 6 inches today, and got to go and grind and get better. And having that indoor facility has just like opened up this whole new world. Jenko, for you, talk about the journey from, how did you go from being this, you were on the standard path of like becoming of being in the golf professional world, right? You got to work at a club. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to anybody listening, but you got to work at a club. You got to fold the shirts. You got to make sure that, Sandy's bacon, egg and cheese, comes out on time. Like, you got to deal with
Handwriting?
all handwriting. You
I
got
mean,
to,
it's
right.
huge.
Why do the pros have
It
the
could be a
best handwriting?
handwriting could be a podcast in
I
itself. I
think
have
that
so many
that's why
questions
I
about
left
that.
the golf
It's
business,
so
'cause
true.
my calligraphy sucks.
Okay.
Well,
Embrace
but
technology.
Now they have this way of just putting a TV up and having it all.
The
So
handwriting. We were literally at the Pro-Am in Vegas, and I'm watching that. We're sitting there eating after our round. I'm watching the guy come over. He's 60 teams. He's got to write, Agawam Hunt, and he's like,
He's got the most permanent marker in the history of markers. Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
no mistakes that can be made. It really is impressive to see.
Back in the day, PGA school had a class on calligraphy.
Get out of here!
Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
true?
I
I
don't doubt
will
it. I thought you had
not.
to pass the class. Yeah.
I am not kidding you. But there was a portion of it that was calligraphy. I did
That's
not.
Unbelievable.
nuts.
I
There's a
did
clip.
not
There's your clip for
partake
the week,
in
Case.
that. It was not good.
So how, when did you have this? So now, like I yes, you're a golf professional, but I also think of you as an entrepreneur. How did you make this jump from teaching at a club to like, I'm gonna go start my own business, I'm gonna build an indoor facility? Like, where did that come from?
Um, I mean, probably uh, the biggest driver of it was my kids. Right, the golf industry in New England for 6 months is incredibly difficult. I give all of my PGA professionals in New England and around the country who work in a very seasonal atmosphere a ton of credit. I really do. So um, there's that piece of it that I think was really important. Another piece of it is that I really try to play and keep up with my game. And in the summer, you're just grinding, right? And then
Actually,
you're
this is
trying
a
to
good.
get
Can you set some context for people listening about your game, like um just recent accomplishments? I know you can go deep. I've seen some competitive, I've seen some 62s out of you in tournaments, but let's just give people some context as your ability as a player.
out. I mean, well, when I was a kid, my I lived with my father in Texas, and my goal was to play Division 1 college golf. My family's history sort of had another idea of what was going to happen in my life. So I moved back to New York and I quit playing for 10 years. I was in the electricians union during that time in construction. And then I worked for this company, Artel Electric, these four brothers who were golf nuts. And I owe everything I have almost today to them because one day I get in the jobbing van and I'm driving to work. I actually open the back door, put my tool bag in, and I see some golf clubs. So I get in the front and in my New York way, brother John, he was 6'6", 320 pounds. I get in and I'm like, you don't play golf. And he looks over and says, yeah, I do, in this really deep voice. So we start getting into it. And he's like, bring your clubs and we'll go play. And so, long story short, that's how I got back into the game. I quit from like 18 to 28. And jumped maybe a month or two after that. I signed up for the Long Island Amateur Stroke Play and I finished second. And so I was off to the races. Like I was kind of back into it, and I started getting more and more interested in playing competitive golf. So that was eventually I left New York. I moved up to Vermont, and I got into the Vermont PGA, and I really, really, really competitive golf took over for me, and playing in Vermont PGA Pro-Ams. I started to play well. And I'm like, I started to going down into the New England section, started playing there, getting dusted by those folks down there. And I could play in a 1 day. I couldn't play in a 2 day because I had this, swinging 12 degrees to the right, 8 degrees to the right. And every once in a while I couldn't control the face and I'd hit a crazy hook. Um, so I just started like putting myself into bigger situations and trying to push my game further. And now I've been in the PGA now for about a little over 10 years. I've accomplished pretty much everything you can accomplish as far as Vermont PGA professional. I've qualified for 5 PGA professional national championships. That's how I met Eric Higgins there, Mr. Casey's guy from Webb Hammett, super good player. And I've just been trying to, make my way through the business and surround myself with some of the best to try and make my game better. So I think, to answer your question, it's gotten to a pretty good level. Um, it can always be better. I'm about to turn 50, so I'm trying to push myself a little bit more.
So obviously you're playing in a lot of New England events. How did how did growing up in Texas, learning the game in Texas, how does that influence how you see a course like a New England course? And could you tell by playing with someone else if they, grew up somewhere near where you did the style of course, and
That's
does that help you at all?
such a good question, honestly, because I grew up. The reason I swung 7, 8 out was my golf instructors down there. Back with the old Balata ball, you used to have to swing, trap it, keep that thing low, keep it out of the wind, or else it would spin off the earth. So, yeah, when I came back up to New England and started playing golf there, you got elevated greens front to back. You can't be coming in low with a lot of, as we call top spin or spin access on it for that ball to release on you and go over the green. So you had to, and the new ball allows you to hit a little bit more square, um, be able to control the spin a little bit better so you can land it, come down with a little more land angle, land it a little softer. So yeah, it required a lot of change in my game and my pattern in order to play in the Northeast as opposed to down south for sure.
It's a Texas thing. That wasn't
It's
that Hogan's big thing was a hook too, right? He was
most people until Jack, I think, right? Like most people until Jack, really, where they hooked the ball, but he was just so strong he could hit it that little cut and still work it
Case.
hard.
I can't. This is why we got to do a segment when we're gonna get you up here. We're gonna film you because I can't even fathom when I started going to Janko. My swing direction was 7 to 10 degrees left.
Yeah.
This guy is saying his swing direction was 8 to 12 degrees right. I could not. I can't even manipulate my body. It's so hard for me to
Like a
even swing
screwball.
it like 3 or 4 degrees right. And I think this goes all the way back to like if you're not if your instructor if you don't have that data, if you don't have that calibrated somehow and you're just out there on the range with some eyeball, it's like, man, that information is so valuable because I don't need to know the golf swing. I can go and hit balls and be like, well, this ain't right. And you can
Well,
start to do that, right? Like
Well, it sounds like you can leave homework, right? Like actual homework for people to go home and
no
work on.
doubt about it. And you have these, you have to have a certain club face to make those patterns work, right? So, they talk about club face is king, and of course it is, because if your club face isn't in the right position, you're going to have difficulties. But when you're trying to move from 8 degrees, if the center of if zero is the center of the screen, and you take your hula hoop that you're swinging on and you tilt it out to the right by 10 degrees, you have to have a certain club face for that to come back into the ball or to come back to the target. So, when you start to change that much, and you get outside and you have lies and you have wind and you have all these other factors that play in, it's hard to move your body in such a different way and change your club face and then believe it, right? That's the thing, is you gotta, like, with technology, you create buy-in. Like, people are like, yeah, no, I don't think so, and I'm like, well, here, look.
well, this is also the problem, right? The problem with YouTube is that it's like democratized golf or the perception of golf knowledge. And so um, Janko's become buddies with this guy, David Orr, who is a tour level putting coach. And he came up last winter and I got a putting lesson from him. And he talked to a group of us and he said, the number one problem with amateurs is that you don't know how to take a lesson. And
Yeah.
what he
Yeah.
meant by that is we all, and I mean, this is cue every golf situation. Like, go to any golf range in America right now, and there is a 12 handicap giving a lesson to his wife, telling her that he knows, right? And so you apply that to
Keep
like
your head down, don't sway.
like you think you have all the answers. You go in and it's like it's very humbling. I still have arguments with guys that I play with or am friendly with them. Like, man, the track, it's a source of truth, and I think that in order to get better, you need that. And it's given like, well, I've always heard it this way. No, we're looking at this data together, and it's
I
it's pretty black and white, right? Like
I always
it's
tell my juniors that I coach, right? When they're frustrated, I'm like, hold on. You have to understand that you chose the hardest game to play. There is so much going on. So if you can't understand that you're going to have a hard time and it's going to be difficult to change, and then bring it to the golf course, maybe there's another game for you.
It's funny. I was going to ask you, my history, my background with lessons. I think I took a handful of them in high school, and I'm currently a 11 handicap. I like you.
That's good golf.
Well, like you, I quit at 18 after high school. I only quit for about 5 years. You took a longer layoff than I did, but it took me a while when I came back
Takes
to
me
the game
longer to do everything, Casey.
uh, well, I wish I didn't take so much time off, but when I came back to the game, I was probably like a 20 or an 18. And I worked my way down to about a 9. Had a few kids back up to an 11, but my biggest issue always taking lessons was, well, I would, depending on the person, they'd try to change my swing, and I'm a tall guy, long arms, so I'm a real big feel golfer.
Yeah.
I struggle with just consistency on ball striking, but the biggest issue for me is I could never take I could do whatever the lesson was teaching me there, but I could never take it, 2 weeks later, a week later, a few days later to the golf course and remember or just have that feedback cycle. I was going to ask you, like, how do you help, once people leave the golf garage or wherever you're teaching them, how do you stay on them? But it sounds like TrackMan, and like we're talking about homework, that's the way. That's a big advantage from when I was taking lessons.
Yeah. When I opened my facility, I literally left my job at Burlington Country Club, and I was like, okay, let's give this a shot. We were during the right around the pandemic. Might have been towards the tail end of it. My we had moved out of a house about a half hour from us. We bought some property. We were getting ready to build a new house. We were living with my in-laws. I mean, life was sort of upside down. And I tell my wife, I'm leaving my job. I'm going to open up my own business. And she's like, wait a second, what? So anyway, created buy-in, right? Just like student at golf, you got to create buy-in.
Exactly.
Well, there's also a certain entrepreneurial personality type that you are, which is like, I don't know how, but we're gonna figure this fucking thing out,
We're gonna figure
and
it out.
I need that pressure to do this.
No doubt. So I got a buddy of mine owned a building by me. And he was super instrumental in allowing me to do this, helping me get started. But I just started teaching as much as I could. But always my vision is I needed to have at least one other simulator bay, so when people walk away from me, they have a place to go work on this stuff. So I created a membership model. I have a keypad access, just like a gym, and so people can walk away and they can come back in and they can use TrackMan. They can use the metrics of TrackMan to work on their game. They understand, hey, listen, it's not going to feel good. It is just not. But when you look at these certain metrics, you know you're doing it the right way. So then you can create buy-in and you can go and continue to work on that yourself as well. I deal with it. I know where you're coming from, field player. There's plenty of people out there like that. And I'm not saying that what I do is going to be always right for everybody. But I will say that pretty much every person that's come into the studio, and, I'd say 99.9% of people that come in buy in, because they immediately you ask them to do something, you talk with them about it, you work through it, they see ball flight change, they see the numbers change, and they go, okay, hold on, my dog Putter just really wants to go.
Putter.
Hold on one second. Putter.
This is a dog podcast.
We
love dogs.
we got dogs
Come
all
in
the
here,
time.
Putter.
It's okay. It's okay.
What do you got going on?
Case, what do you
He's trying to get the squirrel. Sorry, guys.
is he a golden doodle?
He's actually a regular poodle, but we got him with what they call the teddy bear haircut.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you're talking about people coming in there and buying in. I also think what's so cool about what you've done is we're up in Vermont, man. Like we're not down in Florida. Like you've created this golf culture and golf, golf garage. It's I could go there I could go there at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I could go there at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. There's almost always going to be someone else in there. And it's not who you expect. It's a young kid, an older woman. It's a old two friends. It's crazy, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. Like I think one of the reasons that I've felt such an affinity towards you is not just because of the instruction, but like what you're building has relit this flame for me in golf. And I quit for a long time, but then also I just it was so frustrating because you'd be done in October or November, right? Even down in Massachusetts, you're not playing golf from guaranteed December to April. You got to go, you take a trip with your buddies in Florida in March, but you play like shit. And I
Yep.
was like, this game is so hard. What this has given me now is an all year round level. And I love playing, but I love practicing. I love the grind. It's given me it's more about like, I'm not going to be a professional, whatever. I want to be like a mildly competitive amateur, but it's given me this hobby. And I love this onion that we talk about. And I think what your facility has done is created that opportunity for so many people. And you could have a couple for the cost of a low end gym membership. You can be in there working on your game in a controlled environment. And you got your music on, like we're in there listening to Gangstar, or most, like we're hitting balls, having fun. It's created that level of it just changed my relationship with golf, and I'm so lucky to have that, right?
Yeah, my whole philosophy with the place has been it's golf is now year round. You don't have to put it down. You can come in, and you by all means, you don't have to be working at it 10 hours a week. It's like if you come in once a week for those 4 months over the winter, or you can do twice a week and you get a lesson every couple of weeks just to keep going. When that snow melts and you get outside, you don't feel like you don't waste, especially up here, right? You got maybe 5 months, maybe. If you have a membership somewhere, you spend the first month trying to dig it out of the ground,
Right.
right? Like ripping up beaver pelts because the ground is still super soggy. And and then, like, my busiest time of the year is probably June for instruction, because people spent all winter on YouTube and on Instagram, like, I got it figured out, and then they go out there and they're just laying the sod over, and it's like, cha-ching, people coming in. So, I mean, I try to, like, and I'm even working on that with people that work with me. Like, I'm trying to make this, like, I'm trying to take those peaks and valleys away, and I'm trying to make golf for the people that work there, the people that play golf in Vermont. I'm trying to just sort of flatline it a little bit so it can become more enjoyable and it's not so frustrating. Of course, it's always going to have its times, but I mean, we can, when with this philosophy, new technology, working on your game year round, like, it can be a lot more enjoyable when you get outside. I I do the year round membership so people can come in the summer and hit balls in there, right? And you use TrackMan. Like, you're going to get a lot more out of that than you are going out buying 2 buckets of large balls and being like, oh, that felt good, and work on that field for 5 of them, and then hitting a hosel rocket. Oh, I got a new feel, right? Like, it's insanity. But when you get and you use the power of this technology, it's really kind of amazing.
Well, speaking of technology, I wanted to ask you your opinion on the rollback and all that news that came out last week.
Oh boy.
But really
Nah,
specifically,
no,
you've been
no, no.
Here we go.
well.
Here we go.
Well, I was going to say specifically, like,
I
you've
love it.
been playing and teaching for a while, but I wanted to start with where, like, at what point in your golf teaching or even playing career did you start noticing golf technology making like a significant difference to the amateur golfer?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I guess when they went from a persimmon wood to a metal wood, when they went from a wound ball to a
Yeah.
solid core ball, I don't. I mean,
Just feels like
it's
it's always been evolving
it's
alongside.
always been evolving,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, you have what is it, Lamprecht? You got this. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The kid from South Africa right now. The other day you see it on Instagram. He hit it 420. I mean,
Yep.
it's unbelievable. I mean, it's probably downwind, downhill. It's probably an airport runway he's hitting onto. But I mean, it's amazing how far people are hitting it. But then again, like a lot of the people that I teach that are hitting 7-iron 90 yards, do they need to be hitting at 75? No. So like that's
Straight.
what I'm looking where I'm coming from. If people are going to play pro golf and hit it 400 yards and they're playing for millions of dollars, I mean, for me,
Right.
I don't really care that much. I mean, I'd rather hit a 7-iron than a 6-iron, right? Or a 6-iron rather than a 7-iron. I mean, it's just you're going to get more spin, be able to land the ball a little bit more vertical. So I think that
According to the USGA, golf's governing body in the United States, the average male amateur golfer hits driver 217 yards.
bingo, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here, and I don't know. I don't know. There's so much going on in the golf world right now. I mean, it is just insane. Is this the right time?
That's exactly what I said.
Is
Could you
this the
pick a
right
better
time?
time than right now? Do we need
Yeah.
another divisive thing in the world of golf? It's
Do
crazy.
do we really need to do this right now, USGA? I don't know.
Maybe that was a strategy.
Maybe
Kind
that
of
was a
hide it
strategy. Hide it under there. Sounds like a very
under the
New
ROM
York
news.
thing to do.
Hide
Bury
it.
it.
Hide
Bury
it.
it.
Buried in the Meadowlands somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Bury it.
Dave and I have a PR background. That's what we would do. We
Yep,
bury
you
it on a
guys did
Friday.
Look,
it.
I mean, if the golf has been you talk about the Saudis and sports watch, it's been washed. It's happened. It's already over.
There.
Yeah,
It's
it's an
there.
amazing about face everyone's done on that.
This is why. Look, the frustrating thing is like that. There's going to be some impact on a small number on amateur golfers, but like I don't really care. I love golf now. I'm all in. I'm going to play this damn game regardless of John Rahm going to live, regardless of whatever they do with the golf ball. Like I'm going to play golf, and so like I've had a hard time like formulating a strong opinion on this other than like damn it, I'm still going to get out there and go play. And I don't give me an old ass set of clubs and I'm still going to go have fun and try to go play. But
Yeah, no doubt about it.
because
And
to me it's like the like if we had a good if we had a good group, if we had the four of us, we threw balls on the first tee, we were playing in Nassau 5-5-10, everybody's having a good time, like give me the old ping I2 irons or whatever, right? And we're going to go have a fun time with it.
yeah, I
Golf.
mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the more you can do to make people enjoy themselves, the better the sport is. I mean, and the better off it is for everybody that plays it. So, I think that uh, a lot of what's going on, and golf means so much to me because it pulled me out of like a hole that was my life, and I moved up to Vermont, and golf sort of gave me a new life, and things have just like really gone well, since
I was going to ask you about that actually. I
I've
thought that
been
was
in the golf industry.
a nice little
And
a nice segment because like we talk about the like in the long game, like it's about more than the PGA Tour. It's a long game, and you're
yeah,
somebody who golf so personally has impacted your life. I just want to chat about that for.
100%. And then I see like how much golf means to me and what it's done for me, giving me another chance, sort of, to restructure things and get my life kind of on track, and be able to have the wife and family I have now. My I'm up here all the way in the Northeast Kingdom. My daughter, like I ski with her all the time. She's in the U10 program at Burke Mountain Academy, which put out Michaela Schifrin. Is a world class place, and I was able to get in this world because of golf. And when I see all of this stuff, it's like, come on, like this is not what the game is about. Like this is not what it means to people. It's just getting, it's kind of getting, yeah, I hate to use the word gross, but in a way, like the stuff is getting gross. Like, stop already with the divisiveness and all the money and all the. Yeah, it's like let's do things to just make people like enjoy golf and make it about golf again.
Totally, and that it this will be my last thing on the rollback because I know everyone's sick of talking about it. But that was kind of my take on it last week. Was I was against it, but I didn't care at all about whatever distance I'm going to lose. It's the average golfer has been attacked so much in the last year, 2 years. First on the consumption front, right? Like
Yeah.
we're gonna fracture the sport. You're not going to watch your favorite best players play against each other. So the golf viewer's been getting kicked around a little bit the last few years. But to me, the timing of the golf rollback stuff, it seemed like it was just a negative thing. Now we're coming for the amateur golfers, your own Saturday game. And the messaging was poor. And I know it's not going to have the impact on people of that level, but I just thought the optics of it was wrong. And there's never been a better time to be a golf consumer, but everything else seems to be crumbling around the sport. So
Yeah,
frustrating times.
and to that point, when was it like this at its last? The last time it was like this was the Tiger boom, right? And I think that the golf industry got really wrong. They didn't learn how to keep people and attract people to the game and keep them there. And I think that what I'm doing in my facilities and what many other people in the country are doing with their facilities is that we're offering people a different route to go. Like, there's plenty of people that love indoor golf. There's a lot of gamers out there that would rather play indoor golf.
It's really fun.
Right? It's not, yeah, it's not all about the crusty guy sitting at his club who wants to go out and be, you know, uh, you know, be Mr. Know-it-all. It's like we need to do as an industry, we need to grow. And all of these things, like we have such a tailwind, and all these things are doing is creating a headwind for the game when it's like so prosperous. So I'm not buying in. I'm creating a new way for people to enjoy the game, to work on their game, get better at the game, and I'm just going to keep that tailwind going for
Love that. And it's like it's
people
almost
that
like
eye effect.
it's almost like politics at a level, which is like you can get caught up in the macro, but it's like the people at the local like what's happening at the local level. And so for you, you've created this amazing little golf community and are continuing to do that in Vermont. And that's why one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on. And it's cool. Look, I got 100 notes I already wrote down. We're gonna have you back on because I want to talk about the game mentality on course first
This is
trackman. But
fun.
we're gonna do more. Don't worry. We're
This
gonna
is
have you back.
fun.
We gotta flip over. We gotta do some stuff while you're on here. We gotta flip over and do we're gonna do inner OB, and we have some listener emails that we specifically wanna cover while you're here. We have this inner OB that we've been saving for a little bit. And inner OB, if you're not familiar, is a segment. It's a little like buy or sell. Is it inner OB? I'm going to ask both of you guys. Janko, you can go first here since you're our guest today. In or OB, does a hole in one on a par 3 course count? You and me, we're going to Pinehurst. We're going to Pinehurst in March. If I stuff one there at the Cradle, 56-yard little 56 wedge for me, hole in one, do I count that or is it not counting?
Well, coming from a guy who's never had one, I take a hole in one on a putt course. I mean, I've been playing the game forever. I'll take a hole in one wherever I can get it.
How do you not have a hole in one?
I think it's in.
I'm saying in. Who is it? What did you do to the universe? You hit it too damn close to not have a hole in one. How is that possible?
My grandpa had 13 of them. He took them all for the family. Yeah. Davey just left-handed the back of the hole. He used to hit these laser beams. He couldn't hit it out of his shadow off the tee, but once he got inside a $150, it was just straight on the stick. So I'm saying putt hole in one counts.
All right.
I promise you I was going to answer this way before you started this, but as someone who does have a hole in one, I'm out on that because I want to protect the hole in ones.
Come on, man.
The real ones. So no, that's out. I'm out on that.
I mean,
That's great.
that's just like the golf ball rollback we were talking about.
Yeah.
If you hit it 400, you don't care. If you hit it 120,
So this is I don't know. I haven't told this story on this pod, but I'm actually in between you guys. So I have one, but I was 8 years old playing a par three course with my grandparents down in Florida. I hit a driver with
wow.
them, went in, but like I want one now. I want
Yardage?
to, huh?
What was the yardage?
It was probably like 106 yards.
Kind of wind?
It was into the wind. I'm not a good wind player. We can talk about that later.
This
But
is-
I want one now.
this
I want
Bermuda grass or-
I want like a
Casey's
flush.
protecting this hole in one over there.
Yeah.
I actually know a few people with hole in ones on par three courses at a young age, like you, Dave. So I count that. I think there's a cutoff. I think
All right.
here's what I'm gonna say. Will differentiate it. Were you in the newspaper?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm counting that as a hole in one.
In Boynton Beach,
If you're
Florida.
young enough to qualify as like this is vanity news, like
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
counting it.
Deal, Janko. We're gonna get you. We gotta get one.
If Dave gets one at the cradle when you guys go down, I'm not counting it.
All right.
It's a cradle hole in one though, which will be electric.
Case, you got to enter OB?
Yeah, but you also got to buy everybody on the golf course drinks.
No,
That's
I
true.
hate that rule. Terrible rule.
That's the
Well, I
way
got
they
mine
do
in
it
a
down
tournament
here
with an
every
open
once in a
bar.
while. I've been there a couple
Yeah.
of times.
No.
When you get on the par three course, you come to number 8. There's a bar there.
Oh God.
Every once in a while, you roll up, and they're just like, "What do you want to drink?" It's on. The guy that's on the 5th hole right now just had a hole in one. He's got an open bar.
It's a ridiculous rule. Best thing that ever happens to you in your golf life is a financially crumbling thing.
Well, I'm not even a cheap guy. I'm happy to buy you drinks. I just think it's ridiculous that I got the whole. Anyway, separate conversation. Case, you got to enter OB.
Well, this could be a good conversation.
No.
You better put a note down on that.
I know. There's a whole hole we could go down.
That's right.
We could go down that path.
All right, I got a quick one. So first, let me get your take on this. Does everyone like to play by themselves? Dave, do you go up by yourself?
Who's first?
One of the Daves.
I did for a while, and now I don't, and I don't like to play by myself. And the reason why is because where I play at, it would be a fucking 7-hour. It would be impossible and not enjoyable.
Good point. I don't like to play, but I like to practice by myself. I like to go out in the evening. When I was working at a club, or that when I go to the local place by me once in a while, I like to just go out there, and
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to just kind of get in your own head a little bit, work on different shots, and do.
Well,
different things.
that's actually really important. This is not to hijack this, but this is really that's a thing that you told me to do this year, and I wouldn't call it playing by myself, but like when I was working on a specific feel and tee shots that were hard, I would go out to like say 6 hole at Vermont National or something. There's bunkers on the left, there's water on the right. I would hit a spinny cut. I'd have to feel like I'm swinging out to the right, and so there's a huge difference between on course practicing, which is it's not playing by myself, but there's so much value that I see now in like going out and trying to hit specific shots on the golf course, right?
Yeah, you're gonna go in. I mean, especially in that situation, you're just gonna go into like automatic mode. You're gonna sort of shut your brain off and go back to your old pattern that you've been, you know, swinging the club with for years and years and years. It's gonna be hard for you to feel like as you're transitioning, into a certain part of your lead foot, feeling a little bit of like right side bend, little right side tilt in your body, trying to get that plane, your arms a little more behind you so you can swing the club out in front of you, have a different club face, like into the wind, playing with your buddies for money, bunker left. Like, how do you do that? No, you got to go out there.
Why are you asked, Case?
Well, I love playing by myself, especially now that I have kids. I can get out at 7:30 on a Thursday and be home in 3.5 hours, maybe less. But the reason I ask is I like when I go out early and I play by myself, I can fly. I like to play with headphones in. So my question, in or out, headphones on a golf course.
I can't even let you
If you're
finish.
not if you're not holding up people, I'm not talking about that. If you're first one out, you get the whole course to yourself. In or out on that.
Absolutely. This is
Headphones
not
or
knock
these
on you. This is a
the AirPods?
personally
AirPods.
part
I
of
don't have
being out
not these
there.
things out there.
Part of being
That's what I'm saying.
imagine
Those things that be
With the
like,
cans on.
yeah,
They
those
probably think
things.
I'm like mowing or something.
You have to
He's
be
got
like,
the
hey, buddy.
they got an antenna on him. Hey, is this guy a member? Who is this guy?
So I was a huge fan of playing with headphones until an incident this summer. I was out by myself, and I almost got attacked by like a family of turkeys. And I know turkeys don't seem threatening, but they'll scare the shit out of you at 7:30 in the morning. And then like a week later, my course put out a Instagram of like a black bear on the same hole where I almost got attacked by the turkeys. So now I don't do that anymore. But I'm sure there's a lot of predators that will take you down in Vermont as well. But I don't know. When you practice, Dave, do you ever any headphones?
Usually not. I just enjoy being out there. It's like recently I've actually switched in the last 6 months, so I don't run with headphones either. And there's just something like once you get into a rhythm, just being out there.
Whoa.
I'll
That's
chip.
crazy person
I
stuff.
can chip around. I'll chip around. Maybe catch up on a podcast. But I'm gonna say that's OB for me.
Running without headphones that's
No. That's when you
worse
get
than like in Cantlay.
That's when you get deep. That's when you really find out what's going on in that
When I
sick
run
mind of yours.
When I run, every step is just pain. It's just like this sucks. That's why you'll see me probably like one day just jogging with a basketball dribbling because it's like the only thing that will take my mind off.
I gotta move us along. We got a listener email, and we're reading this because Janko's here. This email came in from ZG.
Hold on a second.
What?
I gotta go back to the head. I never got to go in or OB. Hold on a second, here, pal. We gotta slow your roll here.
Hey, let me get a pork roll, egg, and cheese. Go ahead.
Dave's got a lesson.
No, sausage, egg, and cheese. Over easy.
Taylor ham.
That's Jersey.
Okay, my bad.
That's Jersey. The
Inner OB headphones.
I would say OB just because when somebody hits that mighty hook or slice and you can't hear Lord.
Casey almost got attacked.
You don't have turkey related concerns. Got it. Can I ask real quick, Dave? Just one more.
Yeah.
So last week we had a pretty contentious one where I asked Dave something I saw online. Would he rather play at his local course with Phil Mickelson or Augusta National by himself? He said, "Well, I won't even. I'm sure you heard, but Dave, your take on that?"
My take is Augusta by myself all day.
Yeah, right. And you run with headphones too, right?
Yeah,
like a normal person. Okay.
I can't stand to listen to myself.
Your thoughts.
Gasping for air.
Just wanted to make sure.
So all right.
Speaking of which,
I'm playing Green Hill and Worcester with Phil Mickelson. You guys can have your fun at Augusta.
We had a section event at Green Hill. I wasn't able to make it to it. So
look, I've played enough golf with you now. If I could have you mic'd up playing that course, that would be a content of its own. All right, maybe we'll have to do that as a segment.
That would be fun.
All right, here we got so Case, good job, good podcasting there. We got a listener email related to that question. Casey asked me, would I rather play Augusta solo or a local muni with Phil? This email's from ZG. Dave, you can have Augusta. Dave, you can have Augusta. I don't want any part of it. Gerhardt. All right, I'm on Team Casey and now Team Janko here. I'm lucky enough to have played some top 100 golf courses and played some rounds with professional golfers, meaning I'm an insurance agent. Okay. I've played with your boy Patrick Cantlay. I've played with Bubba Watson, etc. It's overrated. They suck in person, especially your boy Cantlay. I'd rather walk the epic course. It's unforgettable. I have no desire to chat with Phil, ZG, and he sent in a picture of him in Project Pat Cantlay. That's real. That's definitely Patrick Cantlay. So,
or what, a cutout? Would you know the difference?
I mean, he looks like he could be dead at any time. Like it could be a frozen version of him at any time. So that's fine.
Great email.
All right, Case, why don't you set up the other one? I texted Janko the pictures of the ball markers and
yeah, we get another one. Someone whose dad was going on a golf trip with some friends, an older dad said, my pops is inventorying the bag in preparation for a golf trip to Florida. Is 54 balls, not all pictured. We'll have to post these pictures, and 28 divot tools enough for a 3-day trip. Dave, any as a pro, yeah, what would you say here? This is our Ask a Pro segment.
Pro.
Is 54 balls and 28 divot tools too much, enough, just right? What do you think?
Well, if he's going to be handling his bag the entire time by himself, I would say go for it. But as a golf professional, when that guy shows up, it's a nightmare.
I've seen some people that show up. This guy's got 20 clubs. It's like, I'm here for my lesson.
He's hitting a lot of greens in regulation and repairing a lot of ball marks.
Also, the picture of the balls is like, it's literally every one of those balls would pass the rollback though. There's
getting ahead of it. Unreal. If you have a caddy carrying that, what's the tip? Doesn't even matter the course. It's really about the bag. $4,000, $5,000.
You don't. The caddy's not carrying that bag. He's got another bag in the back that he pulls out and throws his clubs into.
Yeah.
That's out of the question.
Another great email, though, so thanks. Keep those coming.
Keep them coming. longgamepod@gmail.com. Dave Jankowski, owner of Golf Garage, friend of the program. We're going to have you back a bunch of times.
And what's the socials? People should follow Dave.
Social is, let me, I'm his part-time social media helper.
Come on,
he's great. He's great at the golf stuff. It's Golf Garage, I think. Is it Golf Garage VT?
Yeah.
And then Janko_golf coaching.
That's right.
Hit him up. He's going to post.
And thanks for being a big supporter of the pod, or as my dad would call it, the blog.
The blog.
It's so nice to have a blog like this.
Hey.
Like normal people from outside the world of South Florida can put something together that might be interesting for people to listen to.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be, we'll have you back. I got a bunch of hats we got to bring down to the Golf Garage to support the login pod. All
Let's do it. I enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Long Game Podcast. Best part of the podcast for me, Case, you too, is the volume of listener emails we've been getting. So send them in. We'd love to get your comments, your crazy golf stories, your run-ins with Patrick Cantlay, whatever they might be. That's longgamepod@gmail.com, and we will talk to you next week. All right?
Rory, come on the pod.
He's talking the long game.
They played the long game.
They've got to play the long game.
They're experienced and they play